All right, with that mic situation
All right, guys.
all but resolved, let's go ahead and see what's going to happen in this next round. Both players shuffling up profusely, as always.
Yeah, the white play map until he gets ready. They both do look nice, though. That is true.
They look really nice, and these are the mats. Don't know if you've already said it, but these are the mats that you get in any ARG Championship qualifier kit that you purchase, as well as any ARG Championship qualifier side event that you participate in at qualifying events, ARG circuits, circuit city events, etc., or city circuit events, not circuit cities. Give new ban list. Ban all the cards. All you can play are shape snatches. Chapstick is OP. Didn't you know?
What? Sorry, I was updating Facebook.
It is.
Question?
Okay.
What's this?
There wasn't much of a question. It was just
No.
Chapstick is OP.
Yeah. No, lipstick man is on the right. This is an interesting match. I've played Jerry Williams 3 times in my career. Once in the top 8 of Philadelphia, and it was a high-intensity match. Very good player. He knows what he's doing. Scott Page has a lot of work cut out for him here. As Scott was saying when he came in here and joined us in the booth for a little bit, Jerry Williams, credential-wise, across the board, has more tops than the majority of the players in the top 16. So Scott certainly has his work cut out for him here.
Most definitely.
Jerry's deck is also quite unique. Scott has to play around a lot of different situations. Electric Virus makes it very difficult for Scott to go into Redux and defense mode, try to stall out. The fact that Jerry Williams has access to Trine Dragon with Forbidden Lance back out makes it so that the game can end out of absolutely nowhere. Castle of the Dragon Souls, again, another card that can make it very difficult for Scott Page to decide how he's going to move about his turn.
Exactly. Attacking has suddenly become a lot more terrifying, especially even if you're putting out a Crimson Blader. So if he goes set 1, summon title, Crimson Blader's not even a safe play anymore because if they lance it and you just lose your Crimson Blader right away.
So.
As far as I know, the ARG mats over there are not on sale anywhere. You do have to win them in an event or get one of the championship qualifier kits.
Yep. So it's about 11 o'clock here in Worcester, Massachusetts. We'll be beginning quite momentarily. Why gum? There's no gum.
There is no gum. Only Zool.
What does this gum so stacking mean?
Latios and Latias are a bit OP, but my Mega Gengar just destroys them all.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, I see. Well, thank you, Oliver, Nemo. Yeah, hopefully this is an enjoyable stream for everyone out there, all of the viewers all around the world. We have 325 viewers right now. We almost eclipsed 1,000 viewers yesterday, so it's been a fantastic weekend for the history of Alter Reality Games and history of this game. Very exciting to come and broadcast you live coverage from round 1 all the way up until the finals today. We're looking at the top 16, the top 8, top 4, and into the finals live all throughout the course of the day. Very exciting to have the privilege to do that. I'm Joseph Giolando here with Kayla Nelson.
Yep, absolutely, and we will be covering this for the entire day. Now, we will be taking the top 16 rounds a bit slower. We will be taking our time with them. I believe they have extended round times, as well as we will have extended amount of downtime between rounds, so we may see if we can get some Vanguard and Kaijudo matches in there if you guys want them, or pull some matches from the other main event that we have going today, where the first prize is a Gold Sark, a Shonen Jump Gold Sark, if I'm not mistaken.
It's an Ultra, absolutely. A very interesting thing about the Ultra Reality Game Circuit Series is that while the top 16 does in fact have a 60-minute time limit, the top 8 and through the finals is unlimited. We will not be cutting these players into time. from the top eight up until the finals. We will be playing games full integrity, allow these players to have and as much time as they need to play all of the turns to reduce each player's life points to 8,000. Of course, there will be slow play warnings implemented if players are taking too much time, but we will not cut you off because your games happen to take a long time. Both players grind out each other. We saw our match.
Attention top 16 players, welcome to the top 16. Just a few quick announcements before we get started.
And just a few
First one
announcements
is for the
from our
spectators.
judges before we
You
get
are
started today.
allowed to sit there and watch, but please control your reactions and do not talk about players and their actions during the game as they may hear you. If one of my judges hear you, you will be asked to leave the feature match area. So this is your one and only and final warning on that.
Everyone, quiet
On the
down,
second
listen
note,
up.
once there's a winner in the top 16, please call one of the judges over. We will then recollect your deck. We will hold on to them after every
What the hell are you
round.
doing? What the heck are you
We will
doing?
also verify each winner as there are no match slips.
Jerry Williams literally rolled the dice. So far, it landed under my feet.
1
Yep,
hour, you may begin.
they're a good distance away from
Uh-oh, did
us.
Jerry win the roll?
Looks like it.
Looks like Jerry won the roll.
Okay, and it looks like for the first round of the top 16, we will
Uh-oh.
have 1 hour time
Yeah, it's
limits.
1 hour and then unlimited
So-
all throughout. So it looks like Jerry opened up with return and electric virus. This is
This
an interesting opening and the wing blast. It looks like.
absolutely. Scott's definitely going to have his work cut out for him right from the get-go. Now, the one thing that's going to hurt Scott the most right now is that he does not main deck MSTs at all. So he's not going to be able to get rid of that return unless he's got Trap Stun or Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. And only Phoenix Wing if he gets it right away.
So let's see here. It looks like Jerry's considering using Tempest effect, which would allow him to set it up so on the following turn he can use one of his Dragon Rulers to perhaps end the game on the second turn with a return from a different dimension. You can see he's flipping through some of the cards in his hand. It looks like he has Tempest, Tidal, and then yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's what it was. It was the Brady Sack Dragoon being that monster. That's a mistake for something else.
Yep. So already banishing the Dark Spear. So
Oh, Dark Spear. Is that what that one is?
Yeah.
Dark Spear. My apologies.
Dark Spear. So no Trident Dragon plays right off the bat immediate this time.
Nope.
So are you saying Colossal Fighter or are we saying like Stardust?
It depends what the other cards in his hand are. It's really difficult to say in the vacuum without knowing the other 4 cards in hand for sure. We know he has a Phoenix Wing Blast.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm thinking probably Stardust to protect the return. To make sure, it stays down. Phoenix Wing to protect it.
What is it protecting it against? I mean, it's protecting against, I guess, like Black Rose, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. Colossal's really been the consensus #1 pick.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for Scott to deal with Colossal Fighter. So that makes a lot of sense. If you just go into Stardust, you're forced to Wing Blast any Dragon Ruler that hits the field because it'll attack over the Stardust Dragon. Then that just opens up for Scott Page to make a synchro play or something along those lines. So Colossal Fighter, very difficult to get over in battle.
Definitely.
So
And it's even more difficult for Scott right now because we did mention the Forbidden Lance and the Kessel Dragon Souls.
Yeah,
And the top 16 players do have access to the other top 16 deck lists.
Absolutely.
So they know about the other decks going into this. So Scott is fully aware of these cards, so makes it play much differently than you probably would normally if you didn't know going in.
No. Someone's asking, Jerry Williams is in fact running Dragon Rulers, but he is running one copy of Dark Spear for access to Trident Dragon. Can kind of end the game out of nowhere.
Yep, absolutely.
So Scott Page has a 7 Sword Stars from himself and a Dragon's Ravine to cycle out and try and find an opening hand that he'll be sufficiently happy with for the following turns, but he'll have to pass over to Jerry Williams, leaving his field open with only a back row. So we know Jerry has Return for the Different Dimension and Electric Virus in his hand. So perhaps Jerry was hoping that Scott would make an aggressive play and just end the field with some type of machine or dragon-type monster. So it'll be interesting to see how Jerry reacts to Scott's more passive play of just setting a back row.
Mm-hmm,
It'll also be
absolutely.
interesting to see how reluctant Jerry is to run into that back row with his Colossal Fighter. Ideally, if you're Jerry, you're thinking about wing blasting the back row and setting up a Return for a Different Dimension play. But of course, you have to risk the fact that he knows that Scott is running handfuls of Battle Faders. It's 2 Battle Faders.
Yep,
To be
absolutely.
exact. So it's a tough situation for Jerry here. He's staring at the potential to win the game, but does not want to risk losing to Battle Fader. So here it looks like he's going to elect to banish the Corseska and the Redox in order to summon the Title, which seemingly is a reasonable play regardless of how he wants to set up his Return from the Different Dimension play. So the activation of Tidal appears as though Scott Page is using Phoenix and Wingblast to bounce Tidal to the top of his deck. And see, now what will happen here is he's done that so that Redox's effect will resolve and shuffle Tidal back into the deck. See, this is an interesting play that's useful when you have a Phoenix and Wingblast because it can presumably stop your opponent from having access to one of the 4 major colors. That's one of the fantastic ways of utilizing Phoenix Wing Blast in these type of Dragon Ruler mirror matches. So Scott, very insightful, knowledgeable about the mirror match, cuts Jerry Williams off of not only title on the field, but access to the water element.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that this does, unfortunately for Scott, is if he does not have that battle fader, and Jerry Williams figures that out,
oh, look at
here
that,
comes
Jerry.
the return right there.
Jerry's just confident that Swift-Scarecrow and Battle Fader are not there, and the value that he would get if Scott Page had them on.
Yep.
Anyway, it does not matter. It looks like Jerry Williams making swift work of Scott Page here in the first game with a return from a different dimension. It'll be interesting to see if these players are honorable enough to side the card out.
Absolutely. Now, do you think Jerry would have been as gung-ho on that if he hadn't gotten rid of the Phoenix Wing Wind Blast so soon? Do you think he
No,
would
I
have?
just kept the return face down. The thing is, with Dragon Rulers, return from the different dimension obviously has the ability to end the game out of nowhere, but if you banish enough Dragon Rulers over the course of the game, you can just simply activate return from a different dimension in some type of situation where they all bounce to your hand during the end phase.
Yep.
Or banish themselves so you can search more copies. So it really is at the point where, no, Jerry. Yeah, sorry about that. Just going to fix that up. Jerry Williams on. Those are asking, this is the top 16 here live in Worcester, Massachusetts. We're bringing you coverage of the ARG Circuit Series event. This is the 3rd installment of the ARG Circuit Series event, and the first time we've been able to bring you live coverage, round 1, all the way up until the finals. We're here in the top 16. We'll be battling all the way from the top 16 up until we have a winner here today. Jerry Williams, of course, making quick work of Scott Page in the first game. Both players seemingly have agreed to side return for the different dimension out, one of the more honorable things to do in these type of mirror matches. Of course, we saw Jerry end the game out of absolutely nowhere with return for a different dimension, and it is only fair to side the card out here.
Yep, absolutely. Now, one thing to note is Scott Page is not playing Sixth Sense today because he could not find one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's not playing one, but Jerry is. So
yeah,
Jerry has no reason to take it out right
Jerry's
now.
not siding it out. We already talked to him about that one. Interesting cards to expect here. We have Jerry Williams signing 2 copies of Fossil Dynapatch Follow, another copy of Electric Virus. It looks like 1 or 2 debunks. His handwriting scribbled out. It looks like 1 debunk, it looks like.
1 debunk, yeah.
Some number of Mystical Space Typhoons might come in. And then for Scott Page, we're looking at his own 2 copies of Electric Virus, his own up to 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. And other than that, it looks like he's not signing a lot for this mirror match. Presumably, we can see him take out cards like the Card Trooper, which, of course, replacing the Sixth Sense still means it's reluctant to Crimson Blader, so he'll probably consider signing that out. And then from there, perhaps some number of... He's running a compulsory evacuation device, which is strong, but presumably a card that might be able to be taken out. Debris Dragon might be able to cut down from 2 to 1. Of course, Seska, he's running 2 of, could potentially go down to 1. But then again, he's only setting in 2 Electric Viruses, maybe some number of Mystical Space Typhoons, so it's not like you really need to cut too many cards out of his deck. Jay Williams, on the other hand, looks like he'll be signing in 4 or 5 different cards. So
absolutely. He has plenty to choose from.
Yeah, his deck is also quite unique with Castle of the Dragon Soul and Lance and Enemy Controller, cards that I could see him easily side out. I think I did see him side out on Dandelion, which is also another card that makes a lot of sense to side out. A lot of utility game 1 with the Debris Dragon, but for players like Jerry Williams, you might have been expecting some of the participants in this tournament not to be main decking Maxi, so he can use Dandelion a little bit more freely in the first game and then just prepare to side it out. Of course, he knows that Scott Page is mainly Maxi, but perhaps Jerry's already come to the conclusion that he's going to be using Dandelion in the first game and then always side it out games 2 and 3, which makes more sense because you're probably fighting through more copies of Vanity's Emptiness and etc. So Scott Page will be opening up our game here with a Sacred Sword, banishing Tidal and allowing him to search another copy of Tidal. Let's see how many spell cards Scott has been able to open this second game of the top 16 here live in Worcester, Massachusetts.
It actually looks like Jerry has opened a very large amount of spell cards in his hand. I definitely saw, I think I saw 2 Dragon Ravines in his hand to start out with.
Yeah, it looks like it too. Well, Scott's going to set 2 back rows and pass back to Jerry Williams, who will begin his first turn of this second duel here in the top 16 of the ARG Circuit Series live in Worcester, Massachusetts. Players here today are battling out for over $5,000 prize credit. Jerry's elected to set 2 back rows and not use his Dragon Ravine, perhaps acknowledging that the small value of the first Dragon Ravine activation is not worth it getting destroyed by Scott Page's, and that his hand and that the course of this game will be slow-paced enough to hold on to some of his resources, which is
Absolutely.
clear. I mean, Scott Page just sets two back rows and passes back. So let's see what Scott Page decides to do on his second turn of the duel. He just moves Blaster and redoxes to summon a title from his hand. So a strong combination here for Scott Page. Not only did he open with a sword, he has access to at least 3 of the 4 colors on the second turn of the game. He'll be the first player to drop a monster on the field and will begin to apply pressure to Jerry Williams. In for 2,600, that'll be the first damage of the game, dropping Jerry Williams down to 5,400 life points.
Yep. So first damage inflicted by Scott, hoping to get some retribution for that just quick,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
quick knockout last round.
yeah, it is definitely in Scott's interest to sort of end this game as fast as possible. It's one of those morality things where if you lose a game to return from a different dimension the way that Scott Page did, you almost want to make quick work of Jerry Williams in the second game. That way, the momentum and the tides have turned so that Jerry feels like he's just come across a game where he had absolutely no opportunity of winning. So here, Jerry Williams is elected to use his Dragon Ravine on the second turn, realizing that Scott Page has access to enough dragons and is be applying enough pressure that Jerry needs to get this Dragon Ravine working, discarding a Debris Dragon, and will be electing to send
It's just a bit too much glare. I can't quite see what that was.
a Blaster to the graveyard.
Um, it looks like it's a debris dragon that he's discarded.
Oh yeah, he said
first.
Debris Dragon, right? That's, what did I say?
I don't even remember what he sent the blaster with the ravine, but he discarded the
Debris
debris
Dragon,
dragon.
that's what I thought I said.
Okay. I was just trying to double check.
To the person in the stream, I'm not sure if Scott Page has Battle Fighter in the hand. You can see his hand is chock full of cards, so it's difficult to make out. And the way the camera's angled, it looks like we can see a little bit more of Jerry's hand. It's also the way that they hold their hands. So Jerry's just going to send another back row. So here, as we said before, he didn't open up with a Dragon Reeler, Jerry Williams, and he had to use the Dragon's Ravine just to begin to get access to something. He was playing conservative the first turn, realized that Scott Page did not draw one of those hands where the game would be as slow paced as he might have thought on the first turn, and now realizes that he needs to get that Dragon Ravine off because Scott Page is just going to begin the momentum, having access to now it appears like everything but Tempest. Oh no, he has Tempest too, so Scott Page has access to all the colors. Jerry Williams acknowledges that, realizes that he needs to risk his Ravine. Even if Scott Page activates his own, at this point, his only course to victory might be to try and ride that Ravine for a couple turns, build up some elements, and get back in this game. See Scott Page just cycling through his deck, searching out a Corseska with Tempest effect, redox on the field. Looks like he has a compulsory evacuation device in hand. So he'll be dropping Corseska. And he'll be making a level 8 Synchro, looking at a 3 backers. Interesting to see what Scott Page elects to go into here. Obviously, he knows Jerry Williams has Stardust Dragon will be the choice.
Yep.
Jerry Williams does not have many cards that Stardust Dragon.
There really isn't anything that he has other than the MSTs.
Yeah, it's interesting to see why he went into Stardust Dragon as opposed to perhaps Colossal Fighter.
Perhaps he has a return set that we didn't see, but I don't.
They decided to return out.
Oh yeah, right. They did set the return out. I don't know why I'm even saying that.
So Stardust Dragon attacks in for 25 and Blaster in for 28, and it looks like Jerry Williams will be drawing to 3 cards in hand, 3 spells with no Dragon Rulers anywhere to be found. This is not a good position for Jerry Williams. Looks like he has a Mystical Space Typhoon, a Dragon's Ravine, and a Sacred Sword in his hand with some number of what are presumably bluffs.
Yeah, well, at least one of them is MST. The one at the bottom, bottom is an
absolutely.
MST.
He had nothing to stop Blaster or Stardust Dragon. If he had Wing Blast, he probably would have used that on the Stardust Dragon.
Yep.
So you might have something like Castle Up the Dragon Souls, Trap Stun, an MST set. That's if I were to pick 3 cards, assuming none of them are spell draw cards, those would be the 3. Some combination of those 3 cards and Sacred Sword or Terraforming or things along those lines.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's Jerry Williams is down to 100 life points after that.
Attention players, for those of you that are not registered in one of our events, feel free to come up to the stage and register for a side event.
Yep, just let Trevor know. Trevor is back again, working the video. If Trevor's making any mistakes, you can just yell at him. I'm just kidding, Trevor. Just kidding, Trevor. But
just give some hell to the Gingerbeard.
Oh, geez, yeah, yeah. My deepest apologies. So Jerry Williams is able to get at least 1 Dragon Ruler out on the field. He had to use his return 2 turns in a row with very little value to having discarded Debris Dragon and Mystical Space Typhoon. But he's established some defense with Redox, but we can presume that Jerry has... he's going to go into guard. It'll be interesting to see. Scott has Okay, 3 backers. Jerry's in a difficult position. I really don't see Jerry winning this game.
There really is not much that he could
Yeah, he
do.
has to like summon Colossal, attack into Blaster, and hope that gets there. Or Crimson Blader, but again, you have to hope that gets there. With 3 back rows, I'm not sure what exactly he could think Scott has. That'll just, yeah, he's just going to be hit by 1. Yeah, that's absolutely just, that'll be the end of the game. He'll check his back rows, acknowledge that they're all bad, and this game will be over very quickly. At 100 life points, I don't think Jerry's going to be able to pull this one out. So he already used that this turn. Okay, he's just activating another one.
Yep. You might as well just play it out
Yeah,
and see what
absolutely,
he can do.
absolutely. So let's see if he can find anything else. He did not use Dragon's Ravine a second time. He activated another one over the other one, essentially putting it into the graveyard.
If you are participating in Cardfight Vanguard, we are ready to start today. Please meet by the banner to the left side of the stage. We'll put your pairings up there and have any player meeting. Cardfight Vanguard players, please meet at the banner by the stage.
See, I'm not sure exactly what he can possibly do here. His biggest hope would have been that Scott didn't have that warning and that Jerry Williams perhaps had a land set and could have went into Colossal Fighter. And that way, even if Scott used something like Wing Blast, the Colossal would have hit into something and came back and then attacked into Blaster and attacked over Stardust. I really think that was the only sequence of plays over the course of that battle phase, which would have been advantageous for Jerry. But at this point, yeah, I see Jerry just sees it writing on the wall.
Yep.
We'll be going into a game 3 here. Scott Page had the sword, had access to all of his elements early, and Jerry Williams had to rely on Ravine to gain access to all of his elements. So it was a very difficult game for Jerry Williams there. So it'll be interesting to see. We've had 2 games that really were quite one-sided. Scott Page dominating the second game and Jerry Williams dominating the first game. So we'll be going here into game 3 live, the ARG Circuit Series in Worcester, Massachusetts.
It's actually very reminiscent of Scott Page's last match that we had on camera whenever we had him back at Fort Worth, where their game 1 against Patrick, he just blew Patrick out of the water, and then game 2, Patrick blew him out of the water because of an all-monster hand. And then game 3 was mildly skillful, but still fairly one-sided. So let's hope that we can get an actual good skillful game in this, and that we don't just have a big blowout from one or the other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Looks like they're double checking their decks, making some last minute side deck choices here.
It'll be interesting to see if they're continuing to keep return. I wasn't able to check that. I assume they are, but sometimes players are a little less honorable when it comes to that.
Yep. Jerry definitely did swap at least one card out for one that he had out, so that may be the return going back in, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's just him deciding that maybe Debunk's better right now since I'm going first and I can actually get it set up.
To get the access to the top 16 players, just check out the Ultra Reality Games website. We have the standings and their deck list already posted. Well, what does pile shuffling do that regular shuffling doesn't? I don't know. I think card players are just used to pile shuffling. I don't have a good answer to that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's everybody has their own mantras with shuffling. I've come to the conclusion that if I don't pile shuffle and power shuffle, then I'm not going to draw a very good hand. A lot of times what happens with me is my cards end up really close or all similar to or all close to each other. Like zombies, all the monsters end up to each other. Anything spell related, all the spell cards end up with each other. So doing the pile shuffle helps split that up a bit and give it a bit more
It's tough to tell
variance.
what the actual difference is, but who knows? Who knows? It's really difficult when we're talking about randomized decks.
Exactly.
It's really difficult to actually know what the difference is. So Jerry begins the 3rd game of our match here with his Dragon's Ravine, a much stronger opening hand than what he had in the second game. Oh, geez, Fossil Dino Postula follow. Well, this will be interesting.
Let's see if
Scott Page has any outs to that card.
Let's see if he had the card
We talked
trooper.
about this before. I mean, he has his card trooper. I'm not sure he kept that in. He has very, very few outs to that card.
Yep.
Especially with 2 back rows. If Jerry has some type of defense, Scott Page might be in a mighty difficult position. We saw that he has at least a Battle Fader in his hand.
Which he can't even use at this point because Fossil Dino keeps it from coming out. So, and I honestly can't tell you how many Dragon matches I've won just by going normal summon Dinah, set a few protection cards, and pass to them.
Yeah.
It really is just a detrimental card to their strategy.
We don't want to do it over the whole PA system, so come over to the banner here.
So Scott was only able to set a single back row pass to Jerry, who added a third to his back row. So it looks like this Fossil Dynamo is really making it difficult for Scott. Oh, well, he at least has the double blaster. So debunk, that is just brutal.
That hurts more than Scott needed it
That
to.
is absolutely brutal for Scott Page. It'll be very... Oh, he has 2 battle faders in his hand. His hand was just 2 battle faders, 2 blasters.
It might be at the point where he needs to just start setting the battle faders. So, but he did attack for another 1,200, so...
Yeah. So Jerry's going to be able to begin using his Dragon's Ravine a little bit here. Yeah, Blaster's not banished because it activates in hand. Nope, it is not banished.
Since, with how debunk works, it has to banish from the location in which the card is activated. So if the card is no longer where it was activated, then it does not get banished. So anything like Swift Scarecrow, Electric Virus, all those, they will not be banished because they activate in the hand but resolve in the they resolve in the hand, but they are put in the graveyard.
All right, so Jerry Williams has had his Falsadina Pachula follow bounce to the top of the deck by Phoenix Marine Blast. I was able to tell that Jerry had at least a Mystical Space Typhoon set. Scott Page might be able to muster up some type of turn here, assuming that some of the other cards... Oh, and a Maxi. That is just brutal for Scott Page.
And what's he going to draw off that Maxi?
He's going to draw a Fossil Dyna. So Blast is going to hit the field. Jerry Williams is going to draw his single card, and Scott Page is going to search out Tempest, or Tidal, and Redox.
Now Jerry's just in an even better position.
Yeah, Jerry has a lot of answers here, so Jerry's going to be able to likely keep his Ravine. Oh, yeah, and he just has to pass over to Jerry Williams.
I believe
Jerry Williams draws a Tidal for his turn, and now Jerry has a graveyard full of cards. He'll be able to use a bunch of special summons and then top it off with a False Dyna.
Absolutely.
Follow.
Now, I think Scott declared an attack because he did go over to his calculator to calculate something.
Absolutely.
So I believe 2,800 damage was inflicted to Jerry.
Yeah, this is definitely Jerry's game to win here. I'm not really sure what Scott can hope for. So yeah, Jerry Williams going to continue using his Ravine to turn 1 Ravine and then chaining it up throughout the course of the game. When you have a Dragon Gorilla to begin, it's just absolutely brutal. We saw in the second game where Jerry Williams just never got off the ground running, having to use Brew Dragon and Mystical Space Typhoon as a cost for a Dragon's Ravine. Now this game, much more ideal opening hand and a much more ideal sequence of plays are just putting him in a very dominant position. Looks like Jerry's considering sending Motor Dragon to the graveyard, to which Scott Page is going to have to give a quick read. This level 3 Earth, enemy control of Fossil Dyna, and yep, absolutely, Scott Page just extends a hand, Fossil Dyna Pachula Fala, ending Scott Page's tournament here in the top 16. Jerry Williams avenges his performance in Dallas and will be moving on to the top 8.